Yep, we're rolling for not a fragrance review today. It is a pre-workout powder review. I've done several of these on the channel already. Again, without going over old ground, just saying, you know, use responsibly in the gym, in terms of, you know, how it tells you how to use it, like assess tolerance with 1 scoop. Don't have 3 scoops within 24 hours and so on. So obviously, cutting a long story short, Dorian Yates was a famous British bodybuilder in the 90s, won multiple Mr. Olympia 6 times. Growing up, again showing my age, I've been training over 22 years in the gym, coming up for a little bit before my time. Ronnie Coleman, Jay Cutler and several others were the guys that I looked up to when I'm learning how to train in the gym for motivation, and obviously this guy preceded them. He's a big guy, and I like him. I still watch him to today's seminars and training videos and so on. So he obviously, many years ago, he had a supplement line, and this is his more recent one from like the past few years. It's just repackaged basically from his old stuff. So we'll just go through. Obviously, a pre-workout powder doesn't just have to be used in the gym. It could be used for study, it could be used for late night shifts when you need to focus. Back when I was a doorman, again, I'm not going to go off on a tangent, but having energy drinks, even pre-workout powders, help keep you focused, keep you alert. And again, there's like, I'm not going to say that's the best way of handling night shifts and so on, but it helps get you through sometimes. So in terms of this pre-workout, so we'll go through the label, as in what's in it or what's meant to be in it. A few things I will say that are positives about this product is the fact that for 20 to 30 pound, you can buy, this is called Blood and Guts. He also has another one called Nox Pump. In terms of pricing and everything, and servings per container, they're very similar. I've used both, several tubs actually over the years of both, and personally I don't find much of a difference between. It's whatever's available to you. There's not much of a difference. Again, I've been training many years. I've used various brands. They're very hit and miss, so when I recommend something, it generally speaking, for most people, it will be decent. Some of them people can have reactions to and so on, but again, not viewer discretion is advised. But you just have to read the notes or the writing on the back. You just have to be careful with these things, because again, they have stimulants in, they have certain ingredients that can cause reactions like niacin in terms of flushing, like redness of the skin. And beta-alanine is a well-known ingredient that can cause itching on like certain receptors under the skin. So 20 servings per container, and the price ranges from 20 to 30 pounds. So you do the math. Like, again, without going over old ground, you can buy an energy drink, say from £1 to £2 in the UK. For a medium to large can, the caffeine amount that you might get in one of said cans could be anywhere from 100 milligrams to 300, sometimes even more. I don't just base a pre-workout review on the stimulant part, but in terms of performance enhancement, focus in the gym, I prefer that more than just ingredients that give a artificial pump for an hour or two in terms of muscular pump. Although that has its place for some people. Again, some people training later in the day, they don't want to be having high stimulant pre-workouts or lots of caffeine basically, and its various analogues and different chemical names for caffeine, to cut a long story short. So again, 2 scoops or 2 heaping scoops is 19 grams, which again, I'm doing it this way so that you can get the clinical doses in terms of ingredients that actually, how it's studied in the human body, how effective doses are. What I'm trying to say is again, some pre-workouts might have to explain it in simple terms, have the label At the top is the number one ingredient, what is most of. Then it slowly filters down to sprinkle, fairy dust sprinklings as I call it, or salt bay or whatever. Again, that's a meme from a few years ago. Amounts of ingredients that do nothing in terms of the fairy dust sprinkles. So again, it's decent when, like in this, it has a proprietary blend, but it's written out, the ingredient amounts are written out. So of the 19 grams per 2 scoops, you get 6 grams of L-citrulline malate, which is basically citrulline bonded to malate, malic acid. It's just to help in absorption of the citrulline, which is proven at certain amounts to increase endurance in terms of, you know, more reps, shall we say. It makes it a bit easier. Again, a lot of these products, you know, some people buy into the placebo. Other times I've actually experimented using individual ingredients to see if they even have an effect. And to be honest with you, like 90% of the ingredients that you can buy or get in these pre-workouts, they don't do anything, yet alone a lot or even a little. But citrulline, beta-alanine, creatine monohydrate, obviously caffeine, tyrosine, taurine, these sort of popular ingredients that you see in energy drinks, most pre-workouts, they're actually been proven to do something. But again, as I go back to the importance of the proper, like, clinical dose in a human study. So we have the next ingredient is arginine, or it's bonded, so it's AAKG, which is basically arginine and calcium alpha ketoglutarate, which is just bonded arginine. That's just to increase pump. It does do that, but it's kind of weak and fleeting, if I was to describe it best. Then you've got your beta-alanine. That's a big dose of 5.5. So again, word of warning there, if you have quite a lot of that, it can cause tingles or itching in random parts of the body. I've had that before, didn't know what the hell was going on. Obviously when I got home from the gym, googled what that is, so just putting that out there so people don't get worried or think they're having a really bad reaction. That's quite normal, and again, this is actually over the clinical dose of beta-alanine. I'm not going to say it's necessary in a pre-workout, because yes, it's been proven to increase endurance, but it tends to be based more on endurance athletes, i.e. people doing long distance, high rocks, CrossFit, multiple movements within short periods of time, and or going on for a long period of time. So again, I suppose if you're doing like an hour to 2 hours of weight training, as well as like cardiovascular training at the end, or mobility drills or whatever, then it could perhaps have its place. Then you've got 500 milligram of L-tyrosine, which is again a clinical dose, or it goes up to a gram, but 500 milligram is fine. Then everything else, green tea, sweet orange, caffeine, hydronidus, guarana, they're all like analogues or different forms of caffeine, and the total caffeine per 2 scoop is 350 milligram plus a little bit extra, so it actually goes closer to 400 milligram, which is, I would class, on the higher end. For me, anywhere from 300 to 400, I've mentioned this before, is my sweet spot. So again, in terms of value of using the 2 scoops with the recommended dosing, as I say, in a human, or what's proven to actually work, and what's studied, that's a decent amount of caffeine. So it's like I never really need much more than that. And again, I mention that as a average because again, it's a powder. So even though I shake it up, like obviously with the lid on, and then I'll scoop it after that, that's just to kind of give a estimation of the ingredients. You cannot accurately, like, individually pick out each grain of, you know, the ingredients, how it's packaged. I just thought I'd mention that because again, sometimes you could leave a tub, and I remember reading about this, settling for a while, like say this is just left like this in a cupboard for a year. Certain ingredients settle to the bottom, certain ingredients like flavourings and so on can crash, hence they do have best before dates on some of these. In terms of effectiveness when that happens, I thought I'd just mention this because again it's kind of what I do with pre-workouts now. I don't just let them sit for months on end or years. You do get silicas and like like the little silica packs that try to keep it fresh, but it tends to be what it is to keep it from clumping. And again, in terms of, again, some people just base whole review on mixability and taste. Taste's fine, mix is fine. I've mentioned this in other pre-workout reviews on the channel. In the past, I have actually had some pre-workout powders that taste bloody awful, but then I just know not to get that flavour. But then there have been other lines many more years ago. BSN No Expo, for example, was just like chemical waste, but it was very effective, at least the original formulations of that. So I treated it as it was. I just would neck it very quickly with a little bit of water, where most pre-workouts now, including this one and most, you know, you can get away with a bit more water, mixing them. They taste fine, they mix fine. So yeah, nothing more I can say in terms of the blend. Mix is fine, tastes fine. Reputable guy. I believe a premium brand, even though it's British. Again, without going into specifics, bodybuilding tends to be very big in America. Obviously it's been fairly big in the UK, but most supplement brands are American based, albeit this is a British one. And I can recommend it. As I say, I like the guy. I think he's very knowledgeable. I think that I don't buy all his products. As I said, when I was younger, I used to buy all your whey proteins, your multivitamins, stuff like that. I've gone through phases of that. But again, overall, these products can cost a lot of money the more that you're stacking all of the different things. But let's just review what's here in front of us, which is a pre-workout. So again, the ingredient profile is good, the price is good, mix and taste is good, the guy and his company I think are decent. So overall I'd give it like a 7.5 out of 10. The reason it doesn't get like an 8 or 9 like some of the others is that the profile is quite basic. It's effective though for what it does, and at least the ingredients are in a clinical dose. The reason why it doesn't get the 8 is that for me the beta-alanine is quite high, which I think is a bit unnecessary. They could have included roughly another 2 grams of something else, something a bit more, I don't want to say exotic, but focus enhancers, different kinds of, I don't want to say pump ingredients, but there would have been room for improvement. How this profile sits with me is that it's kind of an old school, early 2000s pre-workout that is in modern packaging. When I say that, I mean that there's, again, going back to pre-workouts I've reviewed more recently, they've got more of an extensive profile, similar to this, but they have extra ingredients that, you know, not only bump up the production costs, but I think give and offer people that have been using these many years something, you know, a little bit different. So overall, a 7.5 out of 10 for the Dorian Yates Blood and Guts pre-workout powder. As I said, and as I try to go back and finalise, there are products I've used more recently that are slightly better. I think for someone starting out or someone looking to get into pre-workouts, this is a highly recommended one because again the price is decent, £20 to £30 for a tub of this, especially if you're only having to use a scoop and not the 2. But then the caveat with that is that you don't get the full clinical dose of the ingredients. But then as I go back to the caveat, also only using a scoop, is that you don't get that massive big hit of 5.5 grams of beta-alanine, which in me, even though I've used lots of pre-workouts over the years, I don't like that itching, uncontrollable, wherever it may be, random itching that you get from a high dose of beta-alanine. So I thought I'd add that in there because it's a point to be made, and why it doesn't get the 8 and why it gets the 7.5. So to finish, and again, just to say, this flavour is pear kiwi. There's multiple flavours. There's cola, there's tropical. Most of them, they're palatable at best, and this or nice. Again, that's very individual, but whatever flavour you get, you'll be okay. And it mixes fine if that's, you know, your prerogative with what a pre-workout should be. I look at more of what it actually offers me in the gym, how it gives me a kick up the arse if and when I need it, the motivator, the drive, the focus, the energy. That's what I look at, and the other things are a plus point, but also to be considered, because that's what you're paying the money for. So again, we'll end on that. 7.5 out of 10. Dorian Yates Blood and Guts pre-workout powder, recommended. So yeah, end it there.